Hey, Recommending Ralph's Twins, I'm back here for another wonderful zombie video coming your way with a really interesting idea here. Now, this was pointed out to me a while ago by a wonderful YouTuber called Lord Spin King Ham, and he started telling me about these Shadows of Evil swords, and they have a secret within them that you might not know about, possibly overlooked over the time that we've played all these maps, because so many people were on the bandwagon to hate Shadows of Evil. I decided to dive a little deeper lately, and I've been finding out some really interesting and exciting things about zombies, and I'm really falling in love with the map Shadows of Evil. Now, before you all go crazy, let's get into probably what you clicked on the video for, what's inside these swords that we've been overlooking. While upgrading the sword, we know how the steps go. You go and get the egg, you go around to the statues, you power up the egg, and then eventually you put the egg into the sword, and you have your Apthicon Sword. What's interesting is during this Easter egg, we see how different the swords contrast each other. When we first see the original sword we get before we upgrade it, we see it as an Apthicon Sword, and when we put the egg inside of it, if we take theater mode and we zoom in, all of a sudden we notice something inside the egg. Well, I'll be. What is that inside there? It looks like a tiny lizard, and he was saying and suggesting in one of my comments that that could be a baby dragon. Well, alright, before we get all aboard the hype train, let's start thinking about this and think it through. At first, this egg could really mean anything at this point in time. We don't know. The lizard's not really textured, but what is interesting is Treyarch has a way of not letting us see what we want to inside these maps, especially in theater mode. For them to allow us to look inside the eggs is very strange to me because there's things in Pack-a-Punch we cannot see, which we should. We can't fly around Pack-a-Punch at all in theater mode, but for some reason we can go through the sword. Very interesting choice for me because Treyarch really tends to block out certain things on the Shadows of Evil's map. To me, Treyarch wants us to see what's going on inside these eggs and see these little lizard-like things that are happening. Around the map, we see different parasites growing inside the mystery box and stuff like that, but we know for sure this is not quite Apthicon. That's the weird thing about this, is that inside we don't see the weird, demented Apthicon animals or creatures or bugs we've been used to. Instead, we are seeing what looks like a baby lizard. So, no big deal, right? But when Zetsubo no Shima happened, we ended up going to this crazy dragon room that many of us have gotten only glimpses at and have not really dove deep into analyzing. But one thing I want to point out right now is when we look inside the walls, there's a blueprint of an egg with a baby dragon inside. Clearly more detailed than what we see in Shadows of Evil, but all of a sudden we start to see these similarities that make us say, hey, wait a minute, this is interesting. To make this even more interesting, we start thinking through the Easter eggs and what's going on. In Shadows of Evil, part of the Easter egg is to cleanse the swords. We get the Apthicon swords and we cleanse them to be keeper swords. The baby dragon egg, it would seem, is replaced with a keeper head instead. So it makes us think that the keepers don't like what's going on. This whole charging of the eggs are eliminated thanks to our keepers during the Easter egg. Then we jump to Dryzendrock, where in that Easter egg we're cleansing a keeper and we find dragon eggs inside the area we cleanse him or battle him, with dragon statue heads all around. It's starting to be more than a coincidence when it keeps showing up in every map. In Zetsubo no Shima, we find Division 9's experiments once again, and also we start seeing more details like the collar control that they were trying to do to make sure they could use the dragons to their advantage. And then they even had a means of putting this whole apparatus onto the dragon's back and had many modes of operation to allow our Division 9 characters to maneuver and manipulate these dragons. Obviously, this did not go according to plan, but they had the blueprints for it, which could show up in our next map or DLC 4. It's only a matter of time before dragons show up in zombies more than they already did in Dryzendrock. We've seen the giant origin robots created, so it makes sense that they could create these dragons and put these giant apparatuses on their backs, but they are organic. We see the blueprints to prove that they are creatures that they grew, test tube babies, but we can still see that there's something else going on, these mystical beasts they're bringing back. Now, I want to pose a question to you guys, the viewers, because I don't have all the answers, and we won't until more DLCs come and go. The idea here is, whose side are these dragons going to be on? Because as we see in the mural in Shadows of Evil, we see our original premise characters fighting with knights and possibly a keeper skull we can't quite make out in the top left-hand corner of it, depending on where you're looking, and facing the mural. And on the opposite side, we end up seeing these Apthicons and what's going on with there, where we see the Margwas, the parasites, the insanity elementals, and much more weird, terrible-looking creatures, but no dragons we see on either side, though they're playing a role. Could this be the tipping point in our grand battle that we're gonna face at some point in Zombies? The Overlords versus the Keepers versus the Apthicons, this great battle that once occurred that will occur again in this cycle that is Zombies. What is gonna be the dragon's fate in our storyline? Will they turn up like the robots in Origins, or are they gonna have their own agenda? Are they gonna be just for themselves, like independent animals, or will they be able to think and choose or manipulate it? Will the Overlords recruit the dragons to their side, so we're gonna have to fight dragons? Will the dragons side with us because of some Keeper advantage, or because the Keepers want to cleanse it? Are they just on our character's side because we've killed Keepers before in both Zetsubo no Shima and Shadows of Evil? Where would their allegiances lie? And why is Treyarch going so crazy with dragons? These questions won't be answered, but there's something to bring up because they are coming for us in these next DLCs. There's no way around it, and I think it's super interesting and cool to bring up. Now, some of you might have known all of this, so good on you, but for the rest of us that are pretty normal about the storyline and casual, I wanted to bring up this idea of there's much more going on with these dragons that we did not know about. And this was started in Shadows of Evil and presented to us over a long time that we've been trying to piece this together. Who's really in control and what's actually going on? We're gonna have to wait to find out, but the dragons will play a role. I hope you did enjoy this video. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it. Share with your friends if they are zombie enthusiasts as myself and you are. Please subscribe for all kinds of Call of Duty Black Ops 3 zombie news and information and all kinds of wonderful content like that. I hope you do have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. As a thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, especially Kingdom Hops, I'm Beefy, Brian, Hunter17, and Logan for helping to make these videos possible. Entertainment Realm, you can check out our weekly movie club series where we talked about Ex Machina, and this week we talk about The Godfather. On Rad Austin 27, we have my hopes and worries for the next DLC map, and on Rad Plays, we're almost done with Uncharted 4, the last chapters, so go check out the whole entire series. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.